All right, cool. So I'm excited to welcome up our final panel for the day. This is the second of our team teardown sessions, and I'm excited to bring up the team from SurveyMonkey. Come on up. So I guess I'm using, I'm not using the lapel mic, I'm using the handheld. All righty. So let's dive right in. Let's go down the line and have you share a bit about your roles at SurveyMonkey.
Oh, great. Okay. Should I start? My name is Jane Huang. I'm a director of engineering, leading the machine learning at SurveyMonkey. So I'm managing both the machine learning engineering team and the data science team.
Hi, I'm Shubi Jain, and I'm a machine learning engineer at SurveyMonkey, so that makes Jing my boss. And
No pressure.
no pressure. And as a machine learning engineer, we're in charge of productionalizing data science models as well as developing a platform that enables our capabilities of developing data science models.
Hi, I'm Jolene Zhou. I'm a product manager at SurveyMonkey. I started out as a feature product manager. One of my feature areas relies on machine learning, a lot, and so started working with Jing and Shubi and team really closely. I think over time, my role has evolved a little bit, and so now I play sort of as a platform PM, supporting Jing's team, and looking across all of the business needs at SurveyMonkey and helping the team prioritize and do some roadmap planning.
Cool. So I think we know that SurveyMonkey does surveys. Probably all participated in one, but tell us a little bit about how you use machine learning.
Totally. So I don't know how many of you in the audience have created a survey on SurveyMonkey? Great. Okay. So we have a good audience. So we are actually we're a 20-year-old company. We created the online survey category. So we are the largest survey collecting company. We use machine learning majorly for 3 categories of use cases. Number 1 is building advanced ML features. Things like SurveyMonkey Genius is one of the most famous thing we build with ML, is enable our user, when you're creating a survey, we actually give you estimated time for the survey you created to be completed and estimated rate that the survey will be completed by your respondents. Also give you smart suggestions, like how can you improve your survey. That's like one area. We also have another area is really building more secure platform. Things like fighting abuse, spam models, phishing, for example. And the last category is, I think it's most common among most companies with using ML for, is to build a more efficient business operation.
Okay, very cool. And so what's the role of platform at SurveyMonkey?
So for ML platform specifically, we're building capabilities that will enable us to be able to scale more of our ML use cases. When we start using ML as a company, like many years ago, it's really start with the ad hoc ML use cases. Things like building BI data scientists, building predictive models to help forecasting. The deliverability is mostly like offline through PowerPoints or our spreadsheet, for example. And over time, we're evolving to say, hey, that's actually not enough. If we want to build good features for our user, we need to be able to serve predictions in real time. That's when we start doing like ML as a service. And while we're evolving, we'll have more and more use cases built into production. We realize, hey, we actually need to solve ML scalability issues holistically. So building ML as a service is not enough anymore. We need to build it as a platform. That's where we see platform as capabilities.
Awesome. So I had a great conversation with an attendee down at our little podcast booth yesterday. And he made a really interesting point. He said, you're talking to, we had just done the team teardown with Airbnb, and they have a bunch of people on their machine learning and platform teams, and I had three folks here on the panel. He was like, yeah, our entire team is 4 people. Tell us a little bit about kind of the scope of your team.
Totally. So we actually is the only centralized machine learning engineering team inside of SurveyMonkey. The machine learning engineering team is about 7-8 engineers, where we have been, it's a pretty new team. We established this team just less than 2 years ago. The data science team, on the other hand, is about 5 data scientists. So we're still pretty small, but centralized for everything we do about ML platform, delivery ML projects into production, integration, and attributing models.
So Shubi, your role involves both productionalizing models that data science teams have worked on, as well as building platform capabilities?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so each machine learning engineer on our team owns a couple of use cases from a productionalization standpoint, as well as specializes in building out a specific component of our platform. Jing talked a little bit about how our platform is really, today, right now, it sits on serving, but there are so many different components about serving an ML model that are really key, that our engineers are able to specialize in and continue enabling further capabilities.
Okay, cool. Jolene, tell us about your particular team and how it uses machine learning and the platform capabilities.
Sure. So one of the areas that I focus on is security/spam fighting, and so as you know, trying to be really intelligent about managing and making sure that our platform and the surveys people send out are good content. We rely on machine learning quite a bit, and we've gone through a journey of starting doing things like, end-to-end, building out the pipeline for individual use cases, to now we are adopting the platform, and we see a lot of benefits from that. And so previously, each individual use cases we built, we have to do everything end-to-end, and a lot of the capabilities we built are not really reusable. So now with the platform, we just need to worry about the individual use cases that we need to build for the future. And there are also, capabilities such as shadow testing or auto retraining that we previously didn't have. We now get that, that come along from the platform. So that's been our journey so far.
And you mentioned that in your introduction that your role has evolved a bit to work more closely with the platform team. Can you talk a little bit more about that evolution?
Sure. Yeah. So because of security, I was one of the first few PMs at SurveyMonkey working actively with the machine learning team. I think over time our company has grown, and more product teams or other teams have realized the power of machine learning, and so want to do more machine learning. And so my role has kind of evolved from looking at things really vertically at security to becoming, more horizontally, and we see a need here to help working with all of the different business needs and trying to prioritize and coordinate, and so that's how my role has evolved.
Awesome. Yeah, I think this is a great example of being scrappy, and kind of referring back to this, the contrast with larger organizations like Airbnb. I know Atul, who was up here yesterday, he's got a product manager over platform, and a lot of the larger teams do. You've just recruited one and just
That's
built
exactly right. Jolene was the one. I think it's also a need the business, the company see over time, right? When we start to try to even hire a platform PM for ML, it's very hard. You don't find the specific skill set people easily. I think it's a nature for our space where recruiting is hard in general, especially if you want some really good PM, no ML. You have to be really lucky. And Jolene was someone, we work with, and she understands ML, she understands our workflow, and loving the space where it's a natural involvement for us to work together.
Cool. Shubi, tell us a little bit more about the the platform and the portfolio of customers that are using it.
Yeah, definitely. So Jolene touched upon that she was one of the first PMs to start utilizing our ML platform. But when it really started, we started off with actually the first use case was the one that Jing mentioned, SurveyMonkey Genius. And so the team that used SurveyMonkey or that helped us develop SurveyMonkey Genius was part of our survey creation experience team. They were our first people to get onboarded onto our platform. Our platform was very small, very specific use case. It only did this specific type of model and logging and monitoring. And from there, we've grown to where we have over a dozen teams utilizing our ML platform across all our different use cases. And they were not, they didn't all come on at the same time, like, all right, everyone, Q4 2018, we're doing it. It was more like as use cases were added on and, then they were also onboarded onto our platform. When we first started doing this, it was very much a manual process of, hey, I'm an ML engineer, you're a data scientist, there's some other front-end software engineer, and maybe a PM driving the effort. And we all sat down in our conference room together, like, what are all the things we need to do? Let's manually hash it out. Today, it's really feels pretty good to say that whenever we have a new team that wants to use one of our models, they send us a Slack message. We are like, all right, here's our API. It's as similar as integrating into any microservice as anyone would at SurveyMonkey. They fill out a few questions, and they're good to go usually. And that's it's a great accomplishment for us to be there. Obviously, this is assuming that our platform already provides their use case. There are still a lot of instances where we need the teams need things that are not currently there, and that's where we're able to then sit down and understand, all right, is this a priority for our platform? Should we include this? Is this something more one-off? And we get into pretty interesting discussions from there.
What are some of the things that, as you've evolved that onboarding process that, used to be difficult for, either you or the customer that you kind of went through what were those hard knocks that you had to figure out and really focus in on creating a better experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think we probably all have something to say on this. But at least from like a machine learning engineer's perspective, I think one of the people from Uber mentioned this was like the idea of a full stack data scientist. At SurveyMonkey, we don't have full stack data scientists. We have, when a ML project is ideated and we start working on it, a data scientist is generally partnered with an ML engineer. And as you can imagine, there's some sort of model or algorithm that's developed by the data scientist, and there's a handoff that takes place. All right, we need to productionize this for the specific use case we have. That may include Dockerizing this, putting, surrounding this with some sort of API, integrating this into some sort of front end, back end, whatever it may be, really. And that handoff process, a few years ago was not the smoothest thing. It required a lot of back and forth. There could be some issues such as training serving skew in the sense of the features that the data scientists trained on aren't the exact same features or feature quality that are available in production. They're not coming from the same source or in terms of model logic. And over time, as we experienced this, we were able to really reduce the friction that took place. We're able to add more documentation to the process, integrate it into our platform so that it's more tightly coupled, the process of going from some model that's in a Jupyter notebook or a Python script to an actual fully productionized machine learning service. And I want to say that it's a lot better, probably not all the way there where I'm like, all right, yeah, click a button and it's out there. I think that would be a dream for us and something that we have a goal for us that we've set for ourselves. But it's pretty cool to see that progress still.
Can you dig a little bit deeper into that, the connection between the experimentation in a notebook and getting onto the platform? What specifically were you able to accomplish there? Yeah,
we actually, essentially, I think, again, I'm remembering this from the talk earlier this morning by the person from Uber, but basically like templatizing. Like at the end of the day, there's a lot of commonality to a lot of our ML models and a lot of commonality to how our platform is designed. And so if we can define really easy templates that can be imported into our platform, that's essentially one of the biggest changes or shifts we made that has worked really well for us. Obviously, there's still some cases that we find that, all right, it didn't work completely, but 95% of the time, we're pretty good on that.
One thing I can add on, I think it's also a common issue is the definition of features. So data scientists, or even within data scientists, right, when they talk about the same feature, they actually mean different things in many cases. Where if you have a data scientist work on a model, they think, hey, those are the features that I wanted. And they give you a list of features where sometimes they mean it's a medium, sometimes they actually mean different things, right? When they hand off to ML engineer, what we saw many times is the discrepancy on the definition of the features. So the one thing we keep doing is standardize the definition of features so that everyone talks in the same language.
How about from the user perspective, the customer perspective, Jolene?
Sure. I think one thing that I think we figured out is I think previously monitoring a model's performance and how well a product feature is doing has been really specialized knowledge, and so a lot of our stakeholders, for example, who are not super technical, don't really understand or have the visibility into like how are things doing, why are you doing things in a certain way, are there any iterations that's going to happen, and so what we have figured out is actually building out auto monitoring capabilities in the platform, and also along with that, educating stakeholders around the certain things or success metrics we're measuring, and as a combination of these two solutions, we're able to create more visibility for our stakeholders on how things are working out, and yeah, it has been pretty good so far.
Awesome. So managing expectations and the relationships with stakeholders is obviously key. Are there other things that you've learned about managing these projects that have allowed you to smooth the path?
One thing we actually learned is within an organization, there can be many stakeholders wanting similar things, but their use case is not exactly the same. And we have cases where we have multiple stakeholders come on and say, hey, we actually wanted something from ML. When we look at them, if we're doing horizontal vertical planning, what we're going to do is say, hey, we're going to build one thing for each of the use case, right? But since we have a centralized ML team, we had the ability to actually look at all those use cases holistically. And we came out with a plan saying there are actually many common things. Let's build one thing that can fulfill many use cases all together. And this is actually when the time we have Jolene come onto the team, helping align with all the stakeholders and align with their timeline, their resource, their requirements, and come up with the ideal execution map that is can provide the maximum benefit for the company.
And so are there commonalities in this ideal execution map across projects? Like, is it templatized to that level, or is it something that you develop on a project-by-project basis?
The specific case I was talking about is one of the case where we have many. If you ever follow SurveyMonkey, we actually acquired a couple of company this year. When we acquire a new company, and we realize, hey, those new company actually have similar use cases as we have on our core platform. That's where this is where we find the commonality, and we are still the only ML platform for all the portfolio companies we bought in. So in this case, yes, it's this specific use case where everyone actually wanted similar things.
Okay. Jolene, we talked a little bit about what were some things that were hard that are now easy. What are some things that are still hard?
I think the education piece is still something hard, right? I think like personally, I think a few years ago when I started out being a product manager, like I thought ML is really magical, right? Like it's still really magic, but it's not like, hey, Jing or Shubi has a magic one, and then like within a month or half a month, something is built, and I just need to call that endpoint, right? I think we still have more evangelizing and education needs to be done at the company within product, but also like, more of the business stakeholders, right? For example, operation teams and so on and so forth. And education is still something that we're trying to figure out. A few things that I think have provided some learnings for us is just bring people along the journey early on is really important, right? Like, it's not like when you have defined every requirement and here we go, ML comes in. It's more like we have to involve, engage with other teams early on and help work along with them to shape the whole thing together. And so, yeah, we're starting to do that, but I think there's more things to learn there. Yeah.
How about from your perspective, Shubi?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Jolene on the education part. I think there's like, I think beyond like the magic component of ML, it's like, there was a pretty good talk by, I think, Justin Norman during one of the breakout sessions that was like, ML is just a small little box, and there's so many other aspects of ML that are needed to actually productionize it. And because it's not just educating about ML itself, but about educating about ML in production, about all these other components that need to be taken care of as well. Like explainability is a really key piece for ML use cases in making business decisions. You want to know, hey, why is this the top lead that I should be reaching out to as a salesperson? I have a gut feeling as a salesperson that it actually should be, someone that's 10th on this list. And if your end users are not really buying into what's helping you make these business decisions, they won't be very effective at their job as well. And essentially that's why we're building this, so that they are more effective at their job. And education is key on that. And it's this journey for sure.
Jing, from your perspective, what's a different outstanding challenge for you?
I think one thing is really realizing we don't know everything and we cannot solve everything. When we have stakeholder coming, I think like Jolene said, hey, she thought ML is magic. I mean, the reality is ML is not magic, right? We are just another tool, and we are the ones knows more about the space, and we have the responsibility to manage the expectation from our stakeholder, from whoever have requests from ML, and also have the courage and ability to say no. Say, hey, this is actually not a ML proper project, or at this time we don't have the infra, we don't have the data to solve the problem at this time.
What would you say is, how do you make as a small team, how do you make the platform feel like a cohesive unit as opposed to a collection of disparate tools? Is that even an issue for you, or something that you struggle with?
Oh, we're very lucky. That was not an issue for us. Like, we're very cohesive. Shubi can tell better than me, right? Because they may show something different to me. But from my perspective, ever since we established this team, we have a unified vision for where we want to go. What are the things we want to build? What are the issues we want to solve? We know the gaps, and we also know like the value of this team can provide. So we've been very cohesive, and we're also flexible on what we should be doing, what we can do at times, depends on the business requirements, depends on our skill sets.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I've worked several jobs in the past, and I think from a complete platform perspective, I think you could ask anyone on our team, and it's very clear what we're really gunning for and what we're looking to provide to our customers, both internally and externally. And because we have this vision alignment internally as both machine learning and data science team, where we are always thinking along the same lines, like if we are building out a new capability, it's not just a tool that's sitting out there that, oh yeah, we can reach out to this thing every once in a while. It's more of, hey, how do we make sure that, and everyone's accountable about this, which is like, how do we make sure that this is integrated into our platform for reusability, for not just this one stakeholder, but anyone that comes up to us and is like, hey, I have this idea. And we can provide this as a capability.
What does the roadmap look like for you? Your platform is primarily focused on model serving today. What's next?
Right now we're not really only focusing on serving. We've been focusing on serving for some time, and we have seen great outcome already.
Serving is where you started?
Oh yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, if you heard yesterday, you heard Jessica from our team talked about our serving platform. So right now, like more than serving, we are also work on model management as we're actually, so SurveyMonkey is in a hybrid cloud. We're a little bit unique on the problems we need to solve for deployment. And then we also work on the data layer, which one of the project we call our feature store. Shubi is the lead on that project. He can share more info on that.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Sam. Like we started off, a few years back, primarily focused on serving, but as we have model management and then this data layer, this data component at the core of things as well, and that's the goal of this data layer, this feature store is kind of one thing which Jing kind of addressed, which is having clarity on data definition. Making sure that when we talk about feature A, everyone's saying feature A, it's not feature A for some reason. And then also the second thing, which is primarily speed of development and deployment. I think there's this key quote or like a commonality that people might know, which is like, making a model, 80% of it is getting the right data or making sure your data is good. And we want to make sure that 80% at SurveyMonkey is something more like 10% in the future. It doesn't take that long to do something like that. And the feature store is really meant at solving that issue and then expanding that capability so that maybe data discoverability is not something that's only inherent to the data scientists and machine learning teams, but other product teams can look at, what data do we have that maybe our product is generating? Is there something that we can now leverage to build a better experience for our customers as well? And when you make data easily accessible, discoverable, and of high quality, we think that that sets a good foundation for these ideas to come from not just your data scientists or your product managers, but anyone that's working at SurveyMonkey.
So to deliver something like a feature store, is your team also responsible for data engineering, or is there an external team that you interface with there?
Right, we work with our data engineering team. We collaborate them closely. They are the ones responsible for the ETL pipeline, and we are the ones giving definition responsible for everything past like the data in the warehouse and going to the central feature store. Everything else is ours. Yeah.
And is there anything interesting about that relationship and things that you've learned about collaborating with data engineering?
Oh, a lot. Shubi can share. I mean, that's
Yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, it's always a cross-functional effort in any project that you do. But yeah, we worked so closely with our data engineers in order to make the feature store a reality for SurveyMonkey. And I think it's a lot to do with the way we think about simple things like testing. Like testing ETL pipelines is so different than testing in production services. And if something breaks in a production, it's like, oh my God, everything's on fire, I got paged, versus something breaks in an ETL slow-moving data pipeline, it's treated quite differently. And so there's obviously just being on the same page about a lot of things. That is an initial ramp-up process, but once you're there, we're always on the same page about what value we're delivering overall, which I think is great.
So, Jolene, what's on your list of things that you want out of the platform? Top three.
I mean, the central feature store is the most exciting thing for me personally. I think, like I said, like Shubi said, it will solve a really urgent pain point for us in making sure data quality is there. I think that's awesome. And the other thing is it can enable more innovation, more ideas to come out of it, right? And so, yeah, that's the most important thing and exciting
Great, so
for me.
we're on the right track.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I'm not going to be hearing anything new right now.
Awesome. Overall, how do you measure the success of your platform efforts and investment?
A couple of key metrics we've been monitoring is number one is the efficiency. So how much efficiency improvement can we make before, can we get before we build the platform and after? Right now, for the example of surveying, the mean time to deployment, where is one of the measurement we have on efficiency, we see like at least 11 times improvement before and after we have the platform. Another metric is the cost. So how much cost can we reduce with the platform? Cost in terms of time to delivery and resource you needed to delivery. In the case of deployment, a model, in our case, we see at least 50% of reduction of cost for adding any new model to production.
Cool. And Jolene, how about from your perspective? Are there things that are important for you that don't fall under that kind of measurement?
I think being platform, there is a role of enabling more innovations, right? And I think one other thing to mention here is also the number of teams or number of features this platform can enable, and that feature can be obviously that feature, whatever feature we're enabling, will have customer benefits as well as business benefits, right? And being able to monitor and measure the number of features that we can enable as a platform, I think that's cool to look at as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for sharing your experiences with us.
Thanks, Sam, for having us. Thank you, everyone.